going to do a little arc to try to get under you. 100 feet back, making that dive. Too cool here.
That 38 is no matter what I do, he's today.
Race friends, it's time for the fastest 2 hours in motorsports. It's time for On Pit Road Racing, right here, right now, live from downtown Las Vegas on the flagship station, the WCOBM television network. Our race team will have all the latest news, updates, and interviews for the world of motorsports. So buckle up and pull those belts tight. The green flag is in the air, and it's time to go racing. And here are the hosts of On Pit Road Racing, Alan Michaels and the First Lady, Diane Fox.
Good afternoon.
Here we are.
Hot afternoon in Vegas.
Good afternoon. A hot afternoon in Vegas.
A hot afternoon in Vegas.
Well, good afternoon to you, Diane Fox. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, except it's hot.
It is hot. Welcome to On Pit Road Racing. Yours truly, Alan Michael, sitting to my left-hand side, and the captain's chair is Diane Fox, and we're here today, man. We have got a great show lined up for you. Just about 15 minutes away, man. We're going old school NASCAR racing. Our special guest today, Mr. Jerry Earl Hatcher, will join us from Mount Airy, North Carolina. He's on the satellite, so we'll check with Jerry. We're going to talk old school racing with Jerry, how NASCAR, how he got involved with it. Man, he goes back to 1941, Diane, back to when they used to take cars on trailers to the track, back to Riverside, California, and that great racetrack out there. So, man, this is going to be good. He's got his views about how NASCAR has come along, where it is now, what is the good, what is the bad. And he told me when I talked to him on the phone, he said, Alan, I don't pull any punches. And I said, that's absolutely fine, Jerry. That's what we want to hear. We want it raw, we want it live, and we want it real, right?
Oh, yes.
That's it. On Pit Road Racing comes from the WCOBM studios right here, downtown Las Vegas, everybody, 450 Fremont Street, each and every Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. right here, man. It is streamed live on the WCOBM.TV network, and we social media it out to Facebook channels, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. We've got it going on everywhere. And, man, it's just a great thing out there. Talk to Tim Torres, Diane. Our website is just about done. He needs about another week to do it because we purchased our domain through a company, and now he had to rewrite everything because that company does things different. So right. Tim told me we're about a week on pitroadracing.com. We'll be up live and ready to go for you, okay?
That's good.
Our show partners, man, it's the Gene Woods Racing Experience. 2 great locations here in Las Vegas for you, everybody, 450 Fremont Street, just on the other side of us, and also we're the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame, and, of course, 121 East Sunset Road. You can find more information about the Gene Woods Racing Experience on the line at World Wide Web, GoKartsLasVegas.com. That's GoKartsLasVegas.com. Woods Family Sandwiches, man. I saw Daylin today. She was in and she said they're just pumping them subs out, Diane.
I bet they are. They're the best subs I've ever
Yeah, she loves the chicken salad, and I love the roast beef wraps. 2 great locations for the Woods Family Sandwich operations, man, here in Las Vegas area, right on the sort of the line of Henderson and Las Vegas. And then, of course, their brand new location up there in Boulder. World Wide Web, WFSandwiches.com. That's where you're going to find them. The Hot Shoe Hall of Fame. Man, that's just on the far side of this building. This is all about the motorcycles and motorsports industry, and our next big event, Diane, coming up January 27th, 2024.
Yep.
Looking good.
It's going to be a good event.
There you go. And if you need more information about that, we'll log on to the World Wide Web at hotshoehof.com. That's hotshoehof.com. And finally, our good friends at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, man, that's our official race track here at home at lbms.com. Want to welcome our new partners out there, Kia, man, with our good friend Chris Martin up in Canada, and also our good friend Jeremy Porter at Atlanta Motorsports Park. We're going to be making a trip down there, Diane, to see those fine folks. You know what I mean? So that's what we got going on as far as the show. How about race and weather this weekend, Diane? Brought to you by our good friends at Woods Family Sandwiches.
We have a mixed bag of weather this weekend for racing. NASCAR weekend, New Hampshire Motor Speedway weekend, chance of rain, 80% on Friday, 60% on Saturday, with a 40% chance on Sunday. Daytime highs, low to mid 80s. So they could get.
It's going to be the lobsters will be swimming up there this weekend. There
you
go.
Have to catch them.
You'll come to the shore. Okay.
Yeah. The NHRA is in Denver this weekend. Looks like great racing weather in the Mile High City. Sunny skies all weekend long with highs lower mid 80s. And Saturday with a high of 91 for Sunday's final round.
It's going to be a smoker up there in the final round. You got it.
IndyCar is rolling into Toronto, Canada this weekend. Friday looks good with mostly sunny skies, high 78. But Saturday and Sunday, cloudy with a 60% chance of rain, and thunderstorms, highs in the mid 70s. So
Yeah, they might
get a little in.
They might get a little in. Bring out the rain tires, man.
Yeah.
There you go. Bring the rain tires out.
Yeah.
Okay.
F1 is off this weekend, so
All right. And what about Las Vegas?
Las Vegas is just hot
Hot.
and windy,
Yeah.
and you know what it feels like
What's
when
that?
you step right out. It's like you put a blow dryer in your face.
That's what they call the blow dryer effect here. Then here down in Arizona, man, is if you were to stand in the bathroom and take 2 blow dryers, put them on high and supercharge them.
and just put them on your face, and just that's what it feels like. I mean, I did my hair.
Yeah.
I didn't think I knew it was hot, but
Right.
I didn't think it. I don't know. I guess I forgot about the darn wind because the minute I walked out, it just went.
Went flip.
I'm like, oh, okay. So, Alan, that's a look at the racing weather for this weekend.
Okay, brought to you by our good friends at Woods Family Sandwiches, WFSandwiches.com, man, the official sandwich company of On Pit Road Racing. Getting the show kicked off on about 10 minutes away or so. We're going to check in with our special guest, Jerry Earl Hatcher is going to join us, man. Old school, man. He was a NASCAR official, track operator, man. Drove the pace car, was on everything. So he's going to tell us all about it. Racing news and notes for the weekend, Diane?
Yeah.
Let's get it started off.
Yeah.
Hey, this officially just came in, man, right before we went on the air. It is official. Daniel Ricciardo is back in F1. The news has sparked unspringing frenzy in the pits. Man, Ricciardo will join AlphaTauri on loan for the remainder of the season. This is because they decided to axe Nick D. Verais, who was just given to 10 races in the Grand Prix for F1 to prove himself. He didn't do it, so Daniel Ricciardo is back in line, man, and I think F1 is really going to love this.
Yeah.
Hey, the results from Britain are in, man. Great Britain won a surprise Silverstone, and it ain't no big surprise. You know it is. Max V, man. Verstappen is doing it again. He is just smoking, man.
Yes,
I mean, just totally tearing it up. He's won 9 of 11 events, 11 of 23 into the season so far, Diane. So it was Verstappen. Lando Norris from McLaren Mercedes wrapped up into a second position on the podium. And then Lewis Hamilton, man, he is the champion of F1.
Yep.
He has struggled this year, Diane.
He has.
But he gets a podium finish. So right now, points leading after 11 to 23 events. It's Max V, 256. He's got almost a 100-point lead on second place raider Sergio Perez, Fernando Alonso, 117. Next up, July 21st through the 23rd, the Grand Prix of Hungary. So Ricciardo's going to be back in action, man. That's going to be something to see right there.
And don't forget, F1 comes to Las Vegas November 16th through the 18th.
That's going to be great, man. I'm telling you, if you haven't got your
I'm
tickets,
excited.
yeah, it's night racing. Everybody's raising heck about the strip. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Las Vegas is getting $80 million of highway and street improvement because of this race coming. So that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, sports car ace Tom Bloomquist was going to be substitute for Simon Pagenaud in the Meyer-Shank racing team for the Honda Indy 200. This coming up Sunday, July 16th. So he's going to be in there. It's just, you got accidents and people not making medical qualifications and things like that. So every now and then you got to put this Tom Blomqvist, man, he's been a sports car ace, man, won championships. So it's going to be good to see him. IndyCar coming up this weekend. Alex Palou coming off of 3 big wins, man. He's on top of the points right now with Chip Ganassi racing, followed by his teammates Scott Dixon and Joseph Newgarden from Team Penske. Indy racing for you,
Yeah,
Diane.
I like that Joseph.
You like Joseph?
I do.
All right. How about the NHRA?
Well, NHRA, July 14th through the 16th.
Going to be at Brandon Speedway. This is going to be the last race,
the
Diane.
Mile High Nationals.
Right.
Vandermeer Speedway, this will be the last race at this historic racetrack as the property was sold. So sad. Hope the NHRA finds another Mile High location.
Yep, sure would be. Here's your points leader, 9 of 21 races. It's Justin Ashley and Top Fuel on top of Steve Torrance and Leah Pritt. Matt Hagan leads it up on top of Funny Car over Matt Hagan and Ron Capps and Robert Height. Dallas Glenn is just smoking in pro stock. I don't think anybody's going to catch Dallas Glenn this year. Matt Hartford and Derek Kramer round up your top 3 in pro stock. And motorcycle, it's Gage Herrera, Hector Arana Jr., and Steve Johnson. NHRA returns back here to Las Vegas, Diane, October 26th through the 29th. That's Halloween weekend. It's the NHRA Nevada Nationals. All right.
Yep.
How about we'll get some cup racing here for you? William Byron, he won a rain short NASCAR Cup Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway, man. I'm just telling you. And I think Jerry's going to top on this. I don't understand why NASCAR called this race so early. The rainstorm that came through didn't last long. They got jet flyers. They got the Titan sucking machines out there. And I just know top 5 for the race, Diane.
Okay, yeah, because we don't want me to talk about
Yeah,
this.
just,
Well, I'll talk to this.
We'll let Jerry talk about it here in a minute.
Jerry talk about it. He won't get in trouble. Okay, the top 5: William Byron, Daniel Suarez, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, and Kyle Busch.
Current driver standings, Diane?
Mark Truex Jr., William Byron, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch is on the way. Richard Childress Racing. I'm telling you, look out for Kyle Busch before the year's over with. He has sparked new life into himself, and he has sparked new life into that number 18 in Richard Childress Racing. How about the playoff standings after Atlanta? 19 to 26 races.
Yeah,
Diane.
race 19 of 26 in the regular season. We have number 24, William Byron, 4 wins, 628 points. Then we have number 8, Kyle Busch, 3 wins, 592. Then Martin Truex Jr. in the number 19 with 2 wins with 607. The number 5 of Kyle Larson, 2 wins, 531. Then we have the number 20, Christopher Bell, 1 win, 591. Then we have the number 1, Ross Chastain, with 1 win with 575 points. Denny Hamlin, the number 11, 1 win, 561. Then we have the number 12, Ryan Blaney, 1 win, 553 points. And number 9th is number 22, Joey Logano, 1 win, 518 points. And number 45 of Tyler Reddick, 1 win, 475 points. That goes first top 10.
Second half of the bracket looks like this for you. It's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with 1 win, 445 in the points. Then after that, we're coming down to who's in on points from 12 through 16. That's your top 16. It's going to be Kevin Harvick, then Chris Buescher, Brad Kay, Daniel Suarez, and Michael McDowell. 3 points up on the cut line. Right now stands at Bubba Wallace -3. The Dinger -13. Ty Gibbs is -26. And Austin Cedric -38 points. So everybody's got to get moving on that.
Yeah.
There you go.
They need to get a win.
They need to get a win.
Really
That's it. Win to get you in, man. I'm telling you. Trackhouse Racing has announced their partnership with Anheuser-Busch. Of course, we know that Kevin Harvick is leaving Stewart Haas after this year. He's going to NBC or Foxtel. He's going to TV somewhere. But anyhow, Anheuser is going to pull out. They're going to back Ross Chastain. This is a multi-year deal, Diane. This is going to be good for this group right here, man. Running on small budgets and things like that. But Anheuser-Busch joining the gang, that's some major money for Trackhouse Racing right there.
That is right.
There you go. Spire Motorsports, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, their team owner, Jeff Dickerson, told Front Stretch prior to the NASCAR Cup Series race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway that the team is not looking to sell either of its NASCAR Cup Series charters. We're not looking to sell, team owner Jeff Dickerson told Front Stretch when asked if he was open to selling the charters. We're looking to acquire. There's nothing there for sale. And he could not, he said it twice.
Yep, they're trying to buy these.
Sell it. We want to acquire.
We'll talk to Jerry about this because I know Jerry don't like this any better than I do. We'll speak about the charters coming up with that. Hey, real quick, Caden Honeycutt has returned back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series for his 8th time. The guy's going to be teaming up with Nice Motorsports. The driver will be upcoming in Pocono Raceway. Nice announced on July 11th. Honeycutt will drive the number 44 truck at his first appearance in the 2023 racing season. You've got some Xfinity news, Diane.
Top 5, John Nemechek, Daniel Hemrick, Cole Custer, Justin Haley, and Sam Mayer.
That's right. And grabbing the lead on the overtime restart at Saturday's Alsco Uniforms 250. It went to John Hunter Nemechek. He rips it up. Another win for this guy. So he's definitely on a roll. And the current driver standings, Diane?
In number 1, John Hunter Nemechek, Austin Hill, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, Chandler Smith, Sammy Smith, Jeb Burton, Josh Berry, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Daniel Hemrick, Riley Herbst is in there. That's good. Parker Klingerman, Brett Moffitt, and Brandon Jones.
Those 3 at the bottom right there coming up with Parker and with Brett Moffitt and Brandon Jones. Those guys are on the hook right now. So right now they've got a race to get in. Corey Heim, he started on the pole and finished the same. The second victory in Saturday's O'Reilly Auto Parts 150, the Craftsman Truck Series. Tell you to visit to the Mid-Ohio Sports Park. Man, that's great. That's a track I used to go to coming up just north of Columbus, Diane. Right across used to be the dragway. Then you go across the street to the big street course right there. You've got all the results. Got all the results for that one?
Let me see. Corey Heim, Zane Smith, Christian Eckes, Stuart Friesen, and Ben Rhodes. The driver standings right now at Corey Heim, Zane Smith, Ty Majeski, Ben Rhodes, Grant Amfinger. The playoff standings, Corey Heim, Zane Smith, Christian Eckes, Grant Enfinger, Carson Hosevar, Ben Rhodes, Ty Majeski, Nicholas Sanchez, Matt DiBenedetto. It's good to see
You
him
said his
in
name.
there.
You said his name. Everybody
Matt-
messes that up, man. There you
Well,
go.
you want to know why I don't mess it up?
Why is
It's
that?
because I've known some DiBenedettos,
Okay.
even when I was growing up, and
I
I
just-
learned
I
how to say their last names.
I just called him Matty D. Man.
Oh,
There
Matty
you go.
DiBenedetto, Matt Crafton, Stuart Friesen, and Tanner Gray.
There you go. That's a look at racing news and notes. We've got some more stuff when we come back. We've got Jerry Earl Hatcher standing by. We got to take a commercial break, pay some bills. We're still going to say congratulations to all the track champions at the Bull Ring. We've got racing where everybody's at this weekend. Dale Jr.'s got a new podcast. We'll talk about that and just all kinds of things. And also the nominations are coming out for the 2024 NASCAR Hall of Fames. We'll talk to Jerry and do all that. You're watching On Pit Road Racing live here at the WCOBM. We're going to take a quick break, pay some bills. When we come back, our special guest, zooming in from the satellite from Mount Airy, North Carolina, Mr. Jerry Hatcher will join us live. Coming up next, everybody.
Welcome to my world. Handicapped man down at a charity feed. Great spread this morning. God, it was horrible. But it made what I needed to happen. Then I had these people that stopped and said, "Hey, you want some shoes?" I said, "Yeah, I was going to need to get some anyway. So might as well." And if it really comes to fruition, help them buy more shoes so that we can help more people. I'm not we, but you know what I mean. Hell, might as well. There's nothing wrong with helping someone.
Are you ready for the wildest ride on Fremont Street? The Gene Woods Racing Indoor Go-Kart Track Experience. 450 Fremont Street, suite number 171 on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont Street. Open 7 days a week, noon until midnight. Strap yourself in, pull your safety belts tight, and feel the power and the speed at the Gene Woods Racing Indoor Go-Kart Track Experience, downtown Las Vegas, Fremont Street, 450 Fremont Street, suite number 171, right on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont Street. What are you waiting for? Log on, get your tickets now. It's time to go racing at the Gene Woods Racing Indoor Go-Kart Track Experience, 450 Fremont Street, downtown Las Vegas.
The bright lights, the glitz, the glamour. It all means nothing without a shot. A chance to turn dreams into reality. To change your destiny. To make history. Nothing's given. Everything earned. It's more than a race. It's a shot at a championship.
Let's go get a championship, baby!
The NASCAR playoffs return to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the South Point 400, October 13th through 15th.
And we are back. There you go.
That place looks like so much fun.
I cannot wait to
That
get
looks
down.
like so much fun.
I cannot wait to get down there. Jeremy Porter is going to be on this program coming up towards the end of the month. He's the president and general manager of the Atlanta Motorsports Park, man. And I mean, this place is just too crazy. They
It
got,
looks like fun.
do you know what they call this place, Diane? They call this the condominiums, the country club for motorsports.
It just looks amazing.
I want to get down there because you know what's right across the street from there? Bill Elliott and Chase Elliott's shop and their landing strip is right next door to this place. So I think we'll get down there and we'll snag old awesome Bill from Dawsonville and a little Chase
yeah.
and see if we can't get him in there. You know,
Yeah.
that ought to be great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an old school guy. Diane and I were raised under old school racing, and the way the rules are out and the changes, the things that are happening. Our special guest is coming from Mount Airy, North Carolina. He has pretty much done anything that you could think about doing with NASCAR as far as officiating, a track marshal and official. He drove the pace car. He's worked for Cup drivers. He's worked with Busch Grand National, the Grand National Series. He's worked with modifieds. He's done it all. And man, he is joining us live from the StreamYard stream. And there he is. Afternoon, Mr. Jerry Earl Hutcher. Good afternoon and welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
How you doing today? Let's get started, Jerry, man. You're an old schooler in this thing. How did you get started in motorsports, Jerry?
My daddy started when he come back from World War II. A lot of veterans did then. They had that wanted to do something deal with him, so they just started fixing up old cars and everything. And that's how Daddy got into racing. He come back on a hospital ship in 1945. Then I was born in 1946. I was one of the war babies.
Right.
But
Wow.
he tinkered with old cars and everything. And then he ran the dirt tracks. And Grandpa had a little whiskey still, and Daddy kind of ran a few gallons of that around, and then he got into racing. And,
for those of you who are not familiar, in North Carolina, man, they make some of they call the bottle and the blend. I'm telling you, it's about the bottle and the blend, and it comes in a mason jar there. But boy, I'm telling you, North Carolina can brew some good stuff. So go on, Jerry. I just had to make that point because some of the people on the West Coast don't understand about that good old jug, buddy.
Well, I don't care much for it myself, but
I do. I love it.
Yeah, well, my grandpa raised tobacco in Martinsville, Virginia, in Mountain Valley. And the last crop he raised, they made $1.17 off of it. So he was a Christian man, but he told Grandma, he said, we're going to have to start making moonshine like everybody else. And she said, okay. And so he went up in the holler back on his land and started making it. That's when Daddy got into it. But back then it was a matter of having to.
Right.
Now you don't have to make it. You don't have to run from the law. You can buy it in liquor stores and all. Yep. Of course, it don't taste the same. It's not the same proof. It's all different.
Right.
I know that. It's not
and
like
I was going to ask you, did they actually, I heard some old stories back in the day, did they actually use some of that moonshine to fuel the cars?
Daddy got a call one night about 2:00 in the morning, and it was a friend of his, and he said, I'm out of gas. And he was loaded. And Daddy said, what do you mean you're out of gas? And he said, I'm sitting here close to a tobacco barn on an old road. I'm out of the gas. Daddy said, you got plenty of gas. Just take one of those jars and pour it in there. He said, I don't want to blow my motor up. And he said, you ain't going to blow your motor up. So he poured a jug in there, and he made it to the next wherever so he could get some gas. Right. A lot of times the farmers and people like that would have tractor gas and stuff like that. Right. So you didn't they would help people out. But then sometimes they didn't want you on their land. So they was a different breed of men back then. I couldn't ever live up to anything like that. I wouldn't want to get out here on the road and moonshine. I just wouldn't want to do it. Although I have run.
Not today.
Well, you're gonna get me in trouble.
Today.
Not today. That's for sure.
I have a question now. This has nothing to do with racing, but you were just talking about where you lived and stuff. For the people and for me, I mean, I grew up in Goldsboro, North Carolina for a while. My dad was in the military. We were at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. What is a holler? You said
most of the time they referred to a holler was like a tanker, and it was a moonshine car that had a tank on it. But everything that Daddy ran and everything that these 40 Fords, they had a big trunk on them. You could haul a bunch of moonshine in it. Then again,
okay.
some people get an Oldsmobile. It just depends. Everybody thinks they're old hot rods, like in the movies. They didn't have to be. You tried to go under the radar. So if you drove the Cadillac with a big big trunk in it. I mean, that you get by with it for a little while.
Wow.
It just depending on your preference, but mostly those 39, 40, 44s were light. You put a load of liquor on them. They'd have extra leaf springs in the back, so it would run about level. And they they'd soup up a motor, and it would. Well, Junior Johnson said the fastest car he ever drove was a moonshine car.
I don't doubt that.
I've heard stories about Junior Johnson and the moonshine. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
so. When was your first? Now you drove, right? You drove a car.
I got into it, but I didn't want to get into it. The first NASCAR experience was in 1969, December. Daytona. We had Daddy was at a Union 76 performance trials, and so it last December and January, and we got 60 brand new cars, and we put them through the paces out there. Fuel economy, braking. Matter of fact, one man died down there, had a heart attack during the braking session. The car got sideways with him under braking, and we got to him, and he was gone.
Scared him to death.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't hear about all the fatalities at these tracks. I mean, just cause somebody's hurting racing and all that, you don't hear about tire tests and things like that.
And you were also a NASCAR official, right?
Oh yeah, long time.
What's the difference? What's the difference between a NASCAR official back then and a NASCAR official now? Is there a difference?
Oh yeah. It was so dangerous back then. On pit road, there was no speed limit at all, so they could come off at Daytona. They could come off and hit pit road at 100 mile an hour, and as long as they come down and hit their pit stall, then So yeah, it was a lot more dangerous.
Wow.
What was your first job in NASCAR?
I worked pit road. I checked car inspection, and all the drivers had to have it. I was at Daytona. Bill France hired me. He only had 12 officials then on the road, and he said he wanted somebody that could flag and inspect and drive a caution car and do everything. He had inspectors, and he had people on pit road, and he had people flagging. But if somebody got sick, he didn't have anybody. So he hired me to do everything. So I learned how to do everything. But it was quite an experience at Daytona. I checked car inspections, and before they ever got on the racetrack for one lap of practice or anything. And then they also had to have a doctor's certificate, a card. I checked that. That's where AJ Florett and I kind of got into it. We didn't, but he didn't have his. I knew he was fit to drive, but I mean physically fit. He looked like he could lift up a car, but you can't go by that. You got to have a doctor's certificate, and he didn't have it with him. He said, "Let me make a couple of laps, and I'll give it." I said, "No, you can't. You can't do it." And he said, "Well, I'll just pull over here on pit road, and then I'll have somebody get it for you." So I let him pull over because his car is behind him. Here he flies down pit road, and I knew he was going to. We had radios, and I called Bill Blackwood in the pit road. I said, "Stop the next car at Ford. He's not legal." So he stopped AJ, and AJ come back up pit road, just spinning tires and everything, and he was mad. Anyway, long story short, they finally got the card to me. Then AJ started out, and we broke for lunch, so he had to wait till 1 o'clock.
Right.
But we finally AJ Fort's a man that you got to gain his respect, and once he respects you, he'll become friends with you. I didn't have a lot of friends there, but he wrecked at Rockingham right in front of me, and he asked me where I went, and I went down a bank there. It was so dangerous back then. We didn't have any helmets. We just wore clothing like I've got on now. On the flag stand, we didn't take any water or anything up there because we knew it was going to be up there 4.5 hours. It was just the caution car. I didn't have water in it or anything like that. I didn't get a bunch of laps from different tracks when I had to drive a caution car. And like I said, back then, like at Daytona, Talladega, all the super speedways, and even the short tracks, Bristol was a bad track. Bristol used to be really dangerous. I drove a caution car there, and I never drove around Bristol. And John Bruner come to me, and he said, "You're going to drive a caution car today." And they had everything lined up on the track. I was headed for the flag stand. I said, I said, "Bruner, I can't drive this caution car." He said, "Why not?" I said, "I ain't never drove around this place." He said, "Your daddy was a champion here in '61. I said, "Well, get daddy to drive it. He's down here in the pits. He's inspecting stuff, you know." So here I go, and at the last minute, Miller High Life was sponsoring a race or something. But one of the big dudes, Miller, wanted to ride with me. And I said, okay. And so I got him buckled in and everything. And I said, "You're not going to like this." And he was drinking. He said, "I ain't going to bother me." I said, okay. So then you got away from the cars on the backstretch. So going into 3, I was doing 120, 25 mile an hour. That old car, which those old pace cars weren't no good, it wanted to drift with me. Then I got it back down. They just had a guardrail between the track then. They didn't have a pit road or concrete wall. And we just barely just about eat up that wall. And it scared him so bad, he wanted to get out. So
Oh, my goodness.
That is.
Well, he got sick.
There's been a lot of changes, since you had anything to do with NASCAR. Do you still watch it today?
I watched, just see how many mistakes they made.
What's the most disappointing thing that's changed so much since your days with NASCAR?
Well, it was changing back in my days. That's why I got away from it. They moved everything up to the tower. Made all the calls from up there. Or when we started, we used to make all the calls from the flag stand. We used to turn all the lights on, everything from the flag stand. They moved it all up into the tower. The tower is not a place to be to run a race.
Oh, no, I totally agree.
I know you can see things up there, but you can see so much better, especially a short track. But they're out of touch with things up there. And just like this race at Chicago, that's a road course. How are you going to call something from the tower? They sit there and look at TVs and call it. You cannot do it. It's just not, I don't like road course racing anyway. So,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it either.
But then the last race they called because of rain, and it was not raining there. They put the cars on pit road, and they said it was because of a deal at Daytona where they restarted the race and they had a bunch of cars wrecking the first turn. They could have made 10 more laps, and that would have been a good race. Just 10 laps would have been a good race. But they wanted, well, I'm not saying I didn't have a particular driver or anything like that. I didn't want any of them to get hurt, and I want all of them to follow their rules and everything.
Right.
But everybody thinks NASCAR is some kind of genius. They're not. When we caught somebody doing something wrong, it was because somebody else come to us and told us what they were doing. They were cheating, and they say, he's cheating. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Jerry, there's been a lot of speculation, and you came from the old school days when the cars were actually fabricated. They started with the frame, with the cage, and moved them away and fabricated the cars. Now it seems like this is a big production car. It's a mold car. In your opinion, do you think that the old cars, because there's been so much talk about safety, Jerry, are the old cars, in your opinion, do you think the old cars are safer than what the new car is out now?
No doubt. Yeah, 100% safer. These new cars are so stiff. that everything comes to the driver, and they're trying to fix it. You know, last year I think somebody got his back broke. They had a couple of concussions and everything. When you hit something like Blaney hit head on, it wasn't a safer wall. You know, it rang his bell, and he hurt for a while, I know.
Yeah.
And he was hollering about a safer wall. We didn't have safer walls then. When Richard Petty took a wild ride down at Darlington, he was up on top and hanging out of the race car and everything. So then Richard come to the next race. He had a window net in that his mother had made in the driver's side so he wouldn't fall out of the car. NASCAR said that's a good idea. So they made it mandatory.
Right.
To this day, they're still using window nets.
Right.
But Petty was the first one to come up with it.
Wow, never knew that.
Yeah, he come up with a lot of things. That's the way NASCAR finds things. They take cars back to the R&D center, and they look for things that went wrong. That, you know, I guess a way to find people. I don't know what it is, but it's best a car that has been in a bad wreck, an accident. It's best to look at it and see what give on the roll cage and whatever. See, back then we had gussets in the roll cage. That made the whole cage stronger. Now they got this roll seal tubing, and they haven't got any gussets in it.
Right.
That's more or less what happened to Larson's cage. But now they're putting more bars in it, and they're putting gussets in that roll seal tubing, so it gets it all together. But this car is absolutely too stiff. When you see a car lose a tire and the right rear don't go down on it, it's too stiff. It's way too stiff.
Jerry, got a question. Jerry, we've got a question from one of our viewers that's watching the show, and he wanted to ask Jerry, who do you think was the toughest driver that you ever saw on the racetrack?
Well, there's different kinds of tough. The toughest man I ever seen was Richard Petty. He not only won 200 races, he ran in every race. He was there every week.
Right.
I mean, he broke his wrist, broke his back. I mean, and he still raced. That's how he won seven championships.
Yeah.
Now, I think Jimmy Johnson tied him, but he didn't go through all that. And now somebody, you know, if they break their fingers and all, they think they gotta sit out, which they don't. I mean, you know, that's a bad example. But this a stock car, it's not just Richard. There's different types of great. AJ Foyt was one of the greatest drivers I think it's ever been. AJ and Mario Andretti. I met both of them. Andretti was real small, 5'2", something like that. But he's still driving. He's 80-some years old. He'll scare you to death. But what got me, they went over and they drove Formula One cars. Now, you know how Formula One cars are. They drove sprint cars, just like Larson does now, you know, like Tony Stewart used to run. Tony Stewart's another great driver. And he's older. He's more modern. But Tony runs Eldor like it should be run. Bristol, I couldn't believe it, put dirt on that track. That was ridiculous. Stupid.
Yeah, I'm in with him. I'm in with you, Diane.
Keep laying it on there.
I just got the list in from NASCAR today, the class of 2024 nominees. And I wanted, because I know that on the Pioneer side of the ballot, I know you've got to know a bunch of these guys. I'm going to throw a couple names out there to you. Give me some description. How about Sam R?
Oh, Sam was a great sportsman driver. He won championships. He drove the Thomas Brothers Country Hams 00. He was quite a driver. And he was a tough man, but he had some misfortune. And before he died, they had to, everything was sold, and he was living in a house trailer before he died.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, that's bad to say, but it happens to everybody. Thinks everybody has made a bunch of money with NASCAR, but they ain't. You go out there and what these drivers like Sam and other drivers have done, have paved the way for NASCAR to make a bunch of money. I mean, they didn't have, they had to run. My daddy had to run outlaw tracks and NASCAR so that he could make enough money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just you couldn't just run NASCAR.
Next name, and I think you brought this up, part of the Alabama game.
Yeah.
Donnie Allison is in on this here. A little comment about Donnie, Jerry?
Oh, Donnie was a great driver. I thought Donnie was a better driver than Bobby, but Donnie didn't get as much, backing brakes or whatever. But I know Donnie went to Indy one year, and he finished fourth in that race, and then he come back to the World 600 and finished in the top 10 in it. So Donnie, he wasn't afraid to get in anything. He drove those old modified scooters and everything. And when you see him outside the car, he wasn't afraid either. I guess y'all learned that when him and Cale got into it at Daytona. And then
one of the
Bobby
greatest things
that,
one of the greatest things. Yep. It was AJ Foyt. You just talked about AJ.
Yeah.
AJ, you hadn't recommended AJ. Let's move on because you already sort of spoken. How about Banjo Matthews, who I guess became a really big car builder back in those days? A little word about Banjo.
Yeah, Banjo ran for years. He was a good driver, but then he found out he could make more money as a car owner, and he was a car owner, had a lot of good drivers, and then he started building cars. As a matter of fact, Junior Johnson had Neil Bonnet and Darrell Waltrip driving for him in the Budweiser cars. I was over at Junior's one day, and he was in his office, and he was on the phone with Banjo. He said, I need 2 cars for Daytona. He said, I want a front steer and a rear steer car. And Banjo, of course, sent them up there to him. It was a rolling chassis. And then, of course, Junior put his motor and everything in it and tweaked it and all. But, yeah, Banjo did all the cage work, all, the chassis and everything.
Right.
It was, of course, there's a lot of money exchanged hands. But he had everything he had all the jigs and everything set up to where he could just build. Where Junior and them didn't have that. Junior had all the motor stuff over there, where he could fix his crankshafts and everything the way you wanted them, the journals, and he had practically a machine shop in there. At Daytona, we had what we call a Magnaflux machine. A lot of car owners didn't know we had it, but it was there for them, and they could take their tie rods or ball joints, whatever, and put it on the Magnaflux machine. It showed up all the cracks in it. So, if there was going to be a problem, you could see it there. They had things like flow benches for the heads and things like that you just saw in machine shops. Junior Johnson ended up with all that stuff, plus the Wood brothers over here at Stewart. They ended up with the dyno and everything. As things evolved, they got more and more stuff there. They had to have. They wanted to run their own motors, and they did back then. Now I think Hendrick's got a bunch of motors, and Joe Gibbs and things like that. So,
right.
Jerry, what about Ralph Moody?
Ralph Moody hired my daddy. He was a driver, and then he got with Ford Motor Company in 1956, 55, 56. Ford Motor Company got him and Ralph Moody, John Holman and Ralph Moody. It's called him Holman and Moody. My daddy went to work for him. He was building cages, building cars and everything. He was assistant driver. They had one of the drivers got hurt, and Daddy thought he was going to get, driving it then. And Ralph Moody wouldn't let him drive. He said, Earl, I need mechanics. He said, these drivers, he said, they're not going to walk back in this door every week. He said, I know you're going to be here. So he gave him a raise. And so Daddy he didn't get into the Grand Nationals like that. He just kept running modifies and things like that, sportsmen, and then he became an inspector after Holman and Moody and all. Yeah, they told him I think it was North Friel. North Friel come to Daddy and said, "We can't catch you cheating, but we want you to inspect so you can catch some of the other people." So that's how that deal come down.
You and I talked earlier in the week, and I came actually into NASCAR probably in the mid 80s and into the 90s. And I know things were changing then. Now they've obviously changed. If you were the president of NASCAR, would you take it back to some of the old school ways, or would you like to see it progress? I mean, I guess we've talked about the car. Is the car safer than what the old car? But I mean, stage racing, points for this, points for that, all the, if you win a championship, all the side things that you can get. If you're the past champion, you get a provisional. If you won this, you get a provisional. I mean, Jerry, back in my days, I remember going to Martinsville. I remember going to Bristol, to Rockingham, North Wilkesboro, to Charlotte. And there would be 50, 55 cars that would show up to try to qualify for a 43 car field. Now to try to get 40 cars in the field. So the question is, what if you were the president, what would you do to make NASCAR better, in your opinion?
Well, absolutely would be no stage racing. That is ridiculous. I mean, in racing, we don't have timeouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In baseball, football, basketball, they got timeouts, but I'm just not used to that. We just raced and raced and raced, and now it just seems like they're gonna, give them a little break there. You can come in, drink your soda, whatever. I would cut that out completely. I would have somebody in the tower that knew what he was doing, but I would listen to people around the track. They got spotters all around the track, and they need to listen to them because they can see their part of the track. I wouldn't be sitting behind a TV screen. I'd be listening to my spotters and watching everything on the track. So when a call's made, it's made. But this deal, see, all the lights are controlled by the tower. That's not right. The flag stand, he should be able to turn the lights on down there all the way around the track because things happen quick down there,
Right.
And if you got to wait till the tower says, okay, put the flag out, it's too late then. Somebody's got to hurt bad.
Right.
So
in your day, you made the call. You made the call in your day. Not the tower didn't make the call. You made the call. If you saw something going, the red flag's out, you're reaching down to the little box that has all the lights, and you're flicking the lights, you're throwing it in the field's under caution. Now you're waiting. Now who's ever up in that flag stand, if I'm reading this right, they're waiting for the tower to call him on the headset and say, okay, now throw the light, now throw the caution, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
And
that's not good.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I'm not.
I'll tell you something else.
Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah. Now I flagged a bunch of races, a whole bunch with John Bruner Jr. And that flag stand, some of them was dangerous. I mean, getting away from that, I ain't worried about that because I didn't get hurt that bad anytime. But a short track is 4 times as hard to flag as Daytona or Talladega. You think these super speedways, they pay more money and all, but they're not hard to flag. You got all the time in the world. But on a short half mile, a quarter mile, I mean, you got to be right on your toes. And they don't have time like at Martinsville or even Wilkesboro if it comes back, or any of the short tracks, Bristol, especially Bristol, the high banks. By the time they key the radio and tell you to go ahead and put the flag out, I mean, it's, that's, I don't believe in that. But I started something with a caution car. It was in the 80s. I told you we used to get away from them on just about record caution cars.
Right.
We were at Caraway, and we had an all-pro race. Dick Trickle was on the pole, Rusty Watson on the outside pole, and they kept starting too early, starting up in the middle of 3 and 4, and that's because the caution car wasn't staying out. So I told the man in the caution car, I said, just stay out until you get to the pit area. He said, they'll run all over me. I said, no, they won't. I'm going to talk to them. So I talked to him, and that's when the caution car started diving in at the last minute like it does now. Right. So that cut out all this mess about getting away from the field and all. It's driving a caution car is different, I tell you. Flagging is different. Being on pit road is the most dangerous thing back then. All those crews had to turn their backs to the race cars, and all at once there comes somebody right behind you at 100 miles an hour. I mean, that was, and they didn't have a helmet or anything.
Yeah, back in those days, you guys just had like team shirts and ball caps on. I mean, there wasn't the helmets and I don't think there was all the headsets. And now they're in fire suits, special tennis shoes to help them out for grip and everything else. Where you guys just rolled in and you had blue jeans and T-shirts or whatever you had on and threw a ball cap on and you serviced the car. And like you said, back then there wasn't pit road speed. I mean, I remember racing back. Remember the flag, but the yellow caution would come race back to the flag. Now they got all the checkpoints all over the track and no, we're going to stop and no, none of this. I sort of think the pit road speed, because the way you were describing it, coming down Talladega, Daytona, Michigan, 100 mile an hour, that's dangerous. I mean, that is, I understand that. But some of the stuff that they like, this taking out the racing back to the flag and all this provisional and all this other stuff they've done. I just wish NASCAR would understand exactly where it's at, its format that it had, and trying to quit playing, like you said, Chicago, Jerry. I think that they're trying to play something with like being Formula One. Formula One does not run on a circle track. It runs on a street course or a designed road course, same way pretty much with IndyCar is now. But NASCAR has always been known as a stock car, 4 fenders, beating and banging, especially when you got to the short tracks, Martinsville, Bristol, Rockingham, Wilkes, like we call it. And then, back in that day too, those motors, you had the slingshot modes. And I want to see if you remember this. You remember the year that Talladega, I believe, I don't know, Jerry, if you'd gotten out of the business, but they were coming down Talladega, put the first $1 million to the winner on the line. Coming out with about 3 or 4 to go. Rusty Wallace was in first place. Dale Sr. was in the back. They got tangled up. Rusty ended up flipping, 9 times, barrel rolling, 18 times. Ended up only with a broken wrist. But if you remember in the interview on ESPN, Dale Earnhardt then showed and called NASCAR out and said, you guys want to put these restrictor plates on them. You want to try to slow us down to save our lives or to get from getting hurt. And he goes, I damn near just killed my best friend right there for $1 million. And what do you expect? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. This NASCAR knows what it's doing. Let me get that clear. They're not stupid people. This deal about we got to go back to the last, when the lights come on, to the last stage, wherever, we threw the caution and a line of cars up like that. Now, who do you think, who knows when that man pushed that button? He's the only one that knows up in the tower. Nobody in the grandstand, nobody in the pits knows. Nobody but him. NASCAR knows what they're doing.
Right.
They'll say, well, who was in the lead right there, and who was it? Okay, you pushed the button right then. So, they got control.
Right.
And they're going to have control. They might have control over me after this right here. I don't know.
Wait, Diane said something to me. She goes, are we going to lose our media credentials and our hard card? And I said, no, we're not. We're just giving an objective view. And I know that there are people like you, and there are people that like the new format. But I wanted to discuss how racing was in the old days.
How it's changed.
And how it's changed. Back in the day, you guys didn't have jet planes and big hauler trucks. You guys had trailers, and you slapped the car up on top of it with a toolbox and hope you had money for tires and gas, right? I mean, that's how you got to the racetrack.
Yeah, that's why I like Ken Schrader now. He's got an old hauler, and he's running these modified dirt race and sprint races and all. I mean, he's still at it.
Yeah.
And making a little money. And, you look at Kyle Larson, you got to hand it to him. I mean, he had to sit out a year, but in that year, I think he ran 140 some races, So NASCAR don't have to run but 30 some races.
Right.
You know, where'd that come from? We used to run 60 races
Yeah.
a year. So where'd that deal come from? I don't know, you know, what the deal. And this $1 million thing where they started, just they said 36 people were going to guarantee a starting spot, and it's going to cost you $1 million. The Wood brothers didn't like it. The Pattys didn't like that. None of the old people liked it, but they had to, you know, that's called buying your spot, and I don't go along with it. But now they said they did it for the race teams, but who wants to get the stock market and all this stuff into racing? We don't need it.
No,
Racing,
no.
you know.
Well, the whole thing of this charter was to try to make it more affordable for everybody. And now it's not more affordable because, I mean, I looked at the prices, and you and I talked about this, 2 years ago, it was $270,000, $280,000, a little under $300,000 to put a car on the track. And now we're looking at over $400,000, $700,000 to put the car on the track. I mean, it's just crazy. The pricing has just gone completely stupid. And then they say this, well, car count is down. Well, when you got you got Hendrick, you got Childress. Well, let's even take Childress out because Childress only got 2. So let's go Hendrick. Let's go Joe Gibbs, Stuart Haas that have all 4 cars. They have 4 cars in the field. So when you've got these big dollars in there, if you and I wanted to put a race team together, we had the money to put the car on the track every week. But if we got to spend $2 or $3 million to buy a charter to guarantee us a spot, well, I look at it like this. If you're my car owner and I'm your driver and we go to Martinsville and I can't get the car in the field, come Monday morning, you and I've got one person to answer to, the sponsor. The sponsors who you got to answer to because they're the ones footing the bill. So I say, let us get rid of all this stuff. Let's get 40 to 50 cars back to the track. And if the King man, I'm just going to say, back in his day, if Jimmy Johnson didn't make the field because his car wasn't quick or his sharpness wasn't on, he doesn't make the field, tough luck. You're out for the week. Call your sponsor and tell them what happened. That's my view, Jerry.
Well, that's exactly right. It kind of got me that there was one man that didn't qualify. He wouldn't even qualify his car, but they let him start in the rear anyway. And that was at Atlanta. You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't have to call his name because they're going to say it's, you know, racial or something, but it's not.
Right.
That everybody should be the same.
Right.
I mean, you got to qualify to make a race, but no, you don't have to anymore. You can just come out on race day.
Yeah, at this point,
it's not right.
Yeah, at this point, there's 3 shots available because they're on the average, they're only putting 36 to 37 cars on a 40-yard field. So let's just put it this way. You own the car, I'm the driver, and our car meets all the specs. I really don't even have to qualify. All I got to do is show up because there's 3 open spots.
That's exactly right. That's like I said, NASCAR knows what they're doing. You know, they kind of got it that way, but maybe, you know, gradually I just don't want anybody else to get hurt in this car they're running now anymore. Right. I want them to, you know, I wish they would just listen to the car builders or you know, somebody. Safety is really the first thing about these cars. And that's why, you know, so many drivers died before they had a fuel cell. And then they developed the fuel cell, you know. And Rex White had a whole lot to do with things like that. The first time we run Charlotte, Rex told me he put 6 windshields in his car. And they were getting windshields out of cars in the infield.
Right.
I mean, that's how stock the cars was. Right. You try to get a windshield to fit one of these cars now out of the new car in the infield. Go get you a Toyota and put your windshield in. You can't do it. You can't switch it.
The Chevrolet. Yeah, the Chevrolet Camaro windshield is not going to fit in the Chevrolet Camaro stock car, is what you're saying, basically.
Absolutely. No, it won't. I know they have templates and all. We had templates too. We used to make templates. We'd go to a car dealership and make them out of cardboard, you know, off on a car right at the dealership. And that's what we went by. But, then, they make them out of cardboard, and then we make them out of aluminum, and we wouldn't have but 4 or 5 templates. We didn't have as many as they got now. Now they got a machine that goes down over.
Yeah, darn thing called the Spider. It's called the Spider Claw now. It's all electronic lasers and all that stuff.
Yeah, it is not. Believe me, running a race from a tower and not getting involved in the garage area is the worst thing in the world. I know they got people down there. I know Elton Sawyer. He drove for a long time,
right?
And he's knowledgeable. But after you've been out of racing, you lose that little knowledge you had, and you get to thinking the way NASCAR wants you to think. I'm afraid that happens. I'm not saying it. He thinks that way at all, or any of the inspectors, but I know that I caught cars, and I just had to raise hell before they would let them, make them go back over the scales or whatever.
Right. One final question before we let you go. First of all, I want to thank our special guest today from Mount Airy, North Carolina, is Mr. Jerry Earl Hatcher, who spent his lifetime and his father, his family in racing. Jerry, in the old days, the car manufacturers had a multi-version. Obviously Ford and Chevrolet, but back then you had Oldsmobiles, you had Buicks, you had the Plymouths. Is there a reason you think NASCAR won't allow any other automotive companies? Dodge. I think Dodge should have a shot. Richard Petty. You talk about Richard. Richard drove that Dodge and had a Hemi motor for years. Dodge is in there. I've heard that Honda has tried to get a car past the inspection. Is there a reason why you think NASCAR is just allowing 3 manufacturers in this sport and not allowing it to open up?
Yeah, it's the same reason why back when I was driving a caution car, or when we had different caution cars, every track had a Ford, and a Ford was at Daytona. So where'd that come from? That come from Ford Motor Company. They sponsored giving NASCAR all those vehicles. All the emergency vehicles was Fords. Now you look at them, all of them's Toyotas. So, it's a big deal to get, just those. I know I'm hitting a sore spot here, but it's a big deal. If you want to see cars and all like it's supposed to be, and moonshine cars and all, come to Mount Airy on September the 9th. We're having a moonshine and racers reunion up here. Meet a bunch of the old drivers. It's a place to come to. No admission charge. It's just, you see all the old cars, see the old moonshiners, talk to people. You don't have to stand in line all day or anything like that.
Oh, this should be something. That's great.
Yeah.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, if you want to make a trip to Mount Airy, that's when to come.
Haven't been to Mount Airy in
20.
No, it's probably
15.
been 15 years.
Yeah, we lived in Winston-Salem, so we used to make that up there, the old Pilot Mountain, go back into the old Mayberry area there where the old ice cream shop. And they used to have the fall festival, the mountain festival up there every year, maybe September, late October. That was always some good time. Jerry, I got a final comment here. Go ahead.
We'll have Bobby and Donnie Allison's car up here. Harry Gant, we're trying to get here. Dave Marcus will be here. He was a good driver. A lot of good people.
We got a little comment here, and I'll just let you know that your daughter's watching, and she says, "Hi, Daddy, I love to hear these stories." She's so proud, and she's agreeing with 100% of what we're talking about today. So hi to Michelle out there. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for watching. Yeah, it's great.
Our special guest today, man, I thought this was going to be 15, 20 minutes. We got talking. 45 minutes have gone down the road.
Oh, I knew this was going
to be. This has been so. Jerry, we want to get you back on the show coming back down. We're towards the end of the season. We'll see where we're getting up into the championships and see what you got to say about that. And if you get any video or anything from that festival up there at Mount Airy, please shoot it over to us because we'd like to talk about it. And I'll get this hooked up and we'll get it up on our social media. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Hatcher, for joining us today. Your first appearance on this program, and I think more is coming for you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Have yourself and tell your lovely wife, Miss Peggy, that I'll send you the address. You know what Miss Peggy going to send us? Miss Peggy's going to overnight us and drive and freeze dry us a little bit of fat back so we can have our fat back with our pinto beans and cornbread. Oh, yes, indeed.
Oh, my goodness.
Hi to Miss Peggy and the fat back out there.
Thank you, Miss Peggy.
There you go. Jerry, thank you so much, buddy. Have yourself a good evening, and we'll talk to you real soon, okay?
All right. Thank you, Al. Appreciate it.
There you go, man. Mr. Jerry Hatcher joined us. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap this program up on Pit Road Racing live at the WCOB, and more right after this, everybody.
The bright lights, the glitz, the glamour. It all means nothing without a shot. A chance to turn dreams into reality. To change your destiny. To make history. Nothing's given. Everything earned. It's more than a race. It's a shot at a championship.
Let's go get a championship, baby!
The NASCAR playoffs return to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the South Point 400, October 13th through 15th.
Jerry Bonato here for On Pit Road Racing with Mert Lawwell, the 1969 National Grand Champion in dirt track. Jerry B here up in Sacramento, Union Gospel Mission, giving out some shoes to the homeless here. A lot of smiling faces. We got one deal. We give you a pair of shoes. You got to give us a smirk and a photo. And this is the mission of the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame, which is a non-profit organization based out of Las Vegas, started by Gene Woods. We're trying to do good things and fill little holes in people's lives the best we can. And today we're up in Sacramento, just doing the best we can. Thanks for supporting us.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Come on! What the yeah! Oh man! Woo! That is awesome!
The bright lights, the glitz, the glamour. It all means nothing without a shot. A chance to turn dreams into reality. To change your destiny. To make history. Nothing's given. Everything earned. It's more than a race. It's a shot at a championship.
Let's go get a championship, baby!
The NASCAR playoffs return to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the South Point 400, October 13th through 15th.
Are you ready for the wildest ride on Fremont Street? The Gene Woods Racing Indoor Go-Kart Track Experience. 450 Fremont Street, suite number 171 on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont Street. Open 7 days a week, noon until midnight. Strap yourself in, pull your safety belts tight, and feel the power and the speed at the Gene Woods Racing Indoor Go-Kart Track Experience. Downtown Las Vegas, Fremont Street, 450 Fremont Street, suite number 171, right on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont Street. What are you waiting for? Log on, get your tickets now. It's time to go racing at the Gene Woods Racing Indoor Go-Kart Track Experience, 450 Fremont Street, downtown Las Vegas.
Oh, yes, indeed. We are back. What'd you think, Diane? He is something, isn't he?
I just sat there and listened because I mean he has some great stories to tell. He had his opinions.
Yeah.
And when we asked the questions, I mean he answered truthfully. Whether whether some people like it or not, well, that's why we live in America, because we have our own opinions.
That is true. On Pit Road Racing, brought to you right here at the WCOBM. We are located downtown Las Vegas at 450 Fremont Street. This show runs each and every Wednesday. Want to thank Mr. Jerry Earl Hatcher right there. I wanted some old school in here. We've got a lot of young drivers, a lot of people listen to this show, but I wanted to get a little revamp of how how the old schoolers and what NASCAR and what the racing world was all about.
And there were some things that he said, you know, and was telling us that I had no idea. I didn't, you know.
I honestly thought that the flagmen had control of the field, and when it was a caution or a red flag or something like that that came out, that he was like old school, that they have the little box up there that has the lights. If he sees it, bang, he throws the caution light, he throws the flag, and now it's all done out of the tower, which I did not realize that the tower was making all that.
And I didn't realize that, like, on pit road, way back, they didn't wear helmets. Those people didn't wear safety. Anything safety.
No.
And those cars were able to come down at whatever speed they wanted to.
Yeah, there was no pit road speed. I mean, like he said,
that's wild.
Talladega, Daytona, Michigan, 100 mile an hour coming off of turn number 4 down to the pits. And if you go back and look at the days, we've got our blue jeans and our team shirts on here, and that's basically what they wore with ball caps on. There was no helmets and goggles, and everybody was hooked into radios and everything that goes on. So it was that. Hey, you want to do a little? Let's do a little segment. Let's find out where racing's going on and the schedules for this week, Diane.
All right, NASCAR trucks are Saturday, July 22nd. 9 a.m. Eastern Time, CRC Brackleen 150 Pocono Raceway. Catch the race on FS1, MRN, and Sirius XM.
Looking good with NASCAR Xfinity. It's going to be Saturday, July 15th. 1:20 is the green flag on the East Coast time. Is the Amber Health 200. New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You can catch the race on the USA Television Network, PRN, and Sirius XM Radio will have the call for you.
And the NASCAR Cup race is Sunday, July 16th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And it's the
Cran 301.
Cranion 301 in New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Catches the race on USA, PRN, and Sirius XM. And I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say it. Okay? I'm just going to say it. USA.
Yes.
Okay.
You're okay.
Okay. I don't. That's all I'm going to say.
You're just. I know.
That's all I'm going to say.
Here's one thing. Watch out when you get these streaming things, folks, because we picked up a streaming package who said that USA was on the streaming package. Well, apparently the streaming package dumped USA 2 weeks prior to this, but didn't tell anybody.
Didn't tell us. So now I have this streaming channel that I don't want.
Yeah.
But I paid for.
That's okay.
USA. Okay. I'm done.
That's another thing NASCAR needs. Let's get a good TV deal together, folks.
Come on. Not everybody has USA or TNT or
let's just get a good TV deal together. Hey, back to racing around and what's going on. NHRA is at the Dodge Power Brokers NHRA Mile High Nationals at Brandomere Speedway coming up July 14th through the 16th.
And IndyCar is July 16th. The Honda Tornado. Peacock IndyCar Live, Sirius XM.
There you go. And F1 is off this week, and they're back in action coming up on July 21st through the 23rd. It'll be the Grand Prix of Hungary, and you can catch all the racing action on ESPN. How about we give a shout out to our good friends at the Bull Ring? You got that one there in front of you, right there. She goes. How about it? How about it, Diane? You started off with the pro late models there.
Okay.
This is Champions Week.
This is the Series Champions, and we need some applause too.
All right, you want some applause?
Yeah.
We can get some applause.
Pro late model was Jeffrey Peterson. That is Kaylee Barker's husband.
There you go. 602 Modified. They go to Sam Jackson. A round of applause for Sam.
The USCLI Bandolero, Ashton Leonard.
Yeah, Ashton, a nice round of applause for you. The USCLI Legend Cars, Jordan Holloway, picking up the championship of the Bull Ring. Way to go, Jordan.
The skid plates, Ken Coombs.
Ken, all right, Ken, way to go on the skid plates. Outlaw Factory Stocks, Matt Frady Jr. Matt, congratulations on your 2023 championship, Matt.
Super Stocks, Jason Kaiser.
There you go, Jason. There you go. Super late model division, Caden Cordova. Caden Cordova picking up the championship. Way to go, Caden. Congratulations, buddy.
And then last but not least, the Battle of the Badges goes to the Police
Department. There you go. Couple of quick things before we get out of here, man. We talked about all the NASCAR class of 2024 real quickly, Diane, in the modern era. Coming up for you, Jimmy Johnson's in there, Chad Canals, Neil Bonham. Good to see Neil Bonham get in there. Tim Brewer's in there, Jeff Burton, your old buddy, Carl Edwards is in there. Handsome Harry Gant, Harry Hyde, Larry Phillips, and Ricky Rudd for the legendary. And of course, we already spoke to it, Sam Ard in the Pioneer Division, along with Donnie Allison, A.J. Foyt, Banjo Matthews, and Ralph Moody. In the Landmark award category, it's going to be Janet Guthrie, Les Richter, Alvin Hawkins. He was one of the first flag guys ever. Remember, he talked about that.
Oh, yes.
He talked about Al and Lisa France Kennedy, and Dr. Joseph Bonardi is all in there too. All right. So that's what you got coming up. You see that Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s got a new podcast.
I did, and if you've never listened to Dale Earnhardt's his podcast,
Dirty Mo TV, man, I love it.
and listen to it. And another really good podcast to listen to is Alicia and Derek Coe.
They're great, man.
That podcast is amazing.
I think
amazing.
I think this new podcast that Dale Jr. is getting ready to do, Diane, is going to be really wild because it's all talking about growing up Earnhardt.
That'll be very
so
interesting.
man. He's going to go back to his granddaddy days, man. His daddy, all of his brothers, cousins, and everybody involved. This ought to be really good. The first episode getting ready to be released, so we're looking good at that, huh? All right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else next week on the show, Diane? You got a real special guest from?
Yes, we have Brooke Storr
coming up.
I talked to her just this afternoon and got her scheduled in for July 19th. So
okay.
We've had her on the show before.
This was years ago. She drives a super late model out of DeSoto Speedway in Bradenton, Florida. Also still coming up on this show at the end of the month, we're going over to London, England. We're going to visit with Ida Zetterman. She runs FIA. She's a superbike champion and running a Top Fuel over there. Also, Jeremy Porter. He's coming back off his vacation and business that he was out of the country, but he's coming up towards the end of the month. He is the president and the CEO of Atlanta Motorsports Park. You have hooked up into our good friends over at the GMS, or Grant Finger, Raul Cruz, and Daniel Dial all be coming up on this program. That's all coming up. Well, it's been a good show today, Diane. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, I had a good time. Special thanks going out to our good friend, Mr. Jerry Earl Hatcher. Just a great guy that had all kinds of information. So we call on our good friend, John, the announcer.
Yeah, let's go.
This week on Pit Road Racing Live each and every Wednesday afternoon, 5 p.m. on the WCOVM network. I want to thank everybody, Team Woods Racing, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Woods Family Sandwiches, all of our partners. Join us next week on Pit Road Racing, right here live from downtown Las Vegas. John, the announcer, take us away,
Thanks for joining us for On Pit Road Racing. Follow us on our website, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at On Pit Road Racing. On Pit Road Racing is written and produced by WCOVM TV. I'm John the Announcer for On Pit Road Racing.